Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to another watch list. Give it a few minutes and we will get going. There's going to be two stocks today that, well, not only two stocks, but the two, maybe main ones that I like would be Roku and Nike. So once YouTube does their job, throws out a couple notifications as they're already supposed to have done, then we can get going here. But as we all know, YouTube suffers from laziness on sending out notifications, so we might take a little bit longer to get a few people in here. What's up, Momentum Day Trader? How's it going, bud? All right. Enough time has passed. We are going to... that's not right. One of my charts isn't working correctly. Give me a second. Wizard, yeah, Brandon does talk fast. You're right about that. Howdy from Ireland. How's it going? NASDAQ SC, Paco, Fernando. Good morning. Good morning. Utilities are holding. All right. Okay. Let's get into it. Let me scoot this over a little bit. All right, so first one we're going to touch on is simply going to be Roku. And then I also got a video. Nice to see you, NASDAQ. Also got a video coming later today about Roku from yesterday that I think some of you guys are really going to enjoy. So anyways, Roku, you can see yesterday it bounced at about 98. Well, it started bouncing at 100 to the 99 price, and then it started to bounce around 98.65. We kind of went and did like a small dip, then we got bought up. Okay, let's go back, look at the daily chart, take our handy dandy little horizontal price action tool, and then we're going to go down to the candle, this candle, and we're going to go to the high of this candle, the body that is, because that would be the closing price of that day, which comes out to be about 101. Roughly. Okay, now we're going to go back to the 1 minute chart, and you will see that buyers started to step in around the 100 price. We started to kind of drop below it, just above it. So buyers were coming in around 101, as well as myself. And then, of course, the stock starts to bounce. So this tells us that some traders are respecting that 101, 100 area as a gap fill or support level to start buying in on. And as a result, you can see the share price has increased. This morning, we're kind of grinding up a little bit too. So we're not seeing dramatically amazing reversals right off the bat, but we are starting to see buyers come into the stock as was expected to happen this week on Roku after it's been annihilated. So again, it's still worth watching, absolutely, to the long side. And pretty much as soon as price action gets over this one-day consolidation, right? So as soon as, let me draw a little square around it. As soon as we start getting up and through this, we're probably going to lead right into a short squeeze that's going to have a big day, probably equally as big as this day. You can see this day we had gone from 134 down to 104, so it was about a 30-point drop, 25-point drop in there. You're probably going to have a day where this pushes up $15, $20 a share on a bounce day or over the course of 2 days. So heavy on the watch for Roku as we're starting to see buyers come in. And then also I will note this, that we do have a small bullish divergence from this day down right there. So we are starting to see a change in momentum on the stock for the time being back to the upside. Okay, so strong watch Roku today, strong watch Roku tomorrow, pretty much strong watch on Roku until the stock bounces or breaks down more if it wants to. would I say hold Roku for a swing? Yesterday, I was actually going to hold some shares long overnight, and I'm like, well, the likelihood that Roku gaps up a ton of money the next day, it's probably unlikely. With how much downward selling pressure we've had, I just don't really see us gapping up too much. So I'm like, I can just wait till tomorrow. But if we get a really nice day where I get a good entry and my entry is very far away from current share price by the end of day, then I would hold swing trade, right? That's what I would do myself. I mean, the markets always react to something either way. I mean, I don't want to get into, I mean, I don't think, I really don't even think they should be going through with any sort of impeachment. I mean, the dude has one more year, beat him in an election and move on. Not even one, maybe one more year. But yeah, I don't know how, I have no idea how the markets would react to something like that. But I mean, sure, if the Democrats want, if Democrats want to impeach him, by all means, I guess do it, take the office, and then stock market will crash. I could very strongly see the stock market crashing. Oh, that would be funny. But anyways, yeah, I don't know how the markets would react to, I don't think they would react good. No, I think if the president was impeached, the markets would probably see a negative downturn. Unless, like, whomever takes his place was like, oh, yeah, well, we're just going to stop the Trump. We're going to stop the trade war immediately. Then the markets would probably react positively. But, yeah, I think it would be a negative reaction overall. Bag holding Netflix, what's your take on it? Well, the way that's going to work with your scenario is you're going to end up cutting your loss, right? If you cut your loss today, maybe it's tomorrow, who knows? You're going to end up cutting your loss, and then you're going to see the stock probably bounce, and then you're going to be like, I should have held it. But it's not going to bounce to the point where you probably, I don't know where your entry is, but if you're really bag holding, then it's not going to bounce to the point where you go green very quickly, which is just going to result in you still losing. So it really is, you have to determine, I don't know where you're at, but, you have to determine, where you got in. You know where you got in, but where you got in has to, be logical that you could get back to that price after it bounces, right? If you got in and you're at 300, no, Netflix isn't going to bounce 50 points over the next couple weeks. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, it's up to you. I mean, personally, I would be getting long in like the 220 or not 220s, 232 to 240, arguably high 240s, but I don't really want it towards 250. 250 is a good magnet mental number, but we broke that in December. Then again, the market also had a really negative downselling pressure to take it that far. So arguably, Netflix really won't go that far unless the market's going really bad. But either way, I'd say Netflix is probably on its way to the December lows, and that's where I'd be looking to dip by for a bounce. What about calls on Roku? Yeah, you can do calls on Roku if you strongly feel that the price action of Roku is going to go higher. Then yeah, calls would be a feasible thing to do, or smart thing to do. Yep, I'll take a look at Ulta real fast. Give me a second. So I looked at it a little bit. Yes, was it yesterday? Yeah, I looked a little bit yesterday. So this is this is good, right? Ulta midday started getting hammered down with the market, just like everything else. And then the market went through a really awkward squeeze. And then, this kind of came back. So all in all, I would say that Ulta is still in play for the time being. This is actually really, most people wouldn't see this as a good setup, but this is actually turning into a relatively good setup, or it can be. Whenever you have a nice move up and then you get a big dip in the middle and it goes below previous support, it's actually a good formation. Most people think it should stay above support, but actually more often times than not, a pattern like this is good. When it goes up, puts in, let me think, a dip, goes back up, fails to break, comes back down, dips below, back up. Like that. That's actually a very, and if we move this a little bit lower, maybe down to there, we could do a trend line like that. That's actually a very good pattern because it's a bullish pennant with an inverse head and shoulders pattern within the pennant. So now what this is kind of turning into is something like this. And yeah, and now you have the down move, the up move that fails, the move back down below, the move back up that fails, and then back down, hold, and hopefully a rip. So anyways, yeah, it's still in formation, still something that I'd be watching today. I didn't really put it on the watch list because I made the video about it the other day, but yeah, this is still on the watch for long bias trading at this point. Yeah, today could be a good day because we had the big move right. Then yesterday, it's kind of like we tried, then we came back down, but then we came back up. Not quite ready. Maybe today's the day, right? A lot of times it'll be like that. Daniel, yeah, it's very possible the SPY comes down to the 294 level, and if it did, that'd be a good buy point at 294. What do I think of the overall market? You will know about that in about 5 days. I'm going to make a video at the end of the month. I will do that every single month going over the market. So in about 5 days, we will get my take. Whoa. Yep, they did start bailing out the banks. If you read the news, and I did want to make a video about that, but that one's going to take a little bit more research and kind of grabbing some sources. So I haven't gotten to it yet, but I am going to make a little bit of a video on that. And if you read some of the mainstream media or maybe some little blogs or somewhere on the internet, it's going to tell you that it's really not that bad and things like that have been going on for a long time. But in reality, it is bad. That's just the media typically sugarcoating and lying as they usually do, or just not really reporting the true full story. Because, again, the media can't do that these days. You'll make everyone scared and hurt their feelings possibly just a little bit. So you can't do that. All right, I'm going to take a look at Nike real fast. Then I'm going to continue down on those questions. NKE. All right, so Nike reported earnings. Let's go look at a 5-minute chart or something. All right. So for one reason of it selling off, you had a top here. We made it into a new high, bearish divergence, selling off. I'm not really crazy to be long bias on Nike. If anything, I actually kind of want to be more like to the short side. But then again, I can tell you this. Nike usually has a really awkward trading day after earnings or after it reports. It usually trades like shit. So it's on the watch list in case it starts making good moves. But in reality, it's probably going to be a choppy pain in the ass that you really just don't want to mess with. So we'll see. I'm optimistic that maybe it has a good day, but a lot of times I see the stock getting kind of choppy on the earnings report day when it trades. Daniel, so in regards to ENPH, you got to remember when you're trading, it's your plan, right? So however you had initially thought of trading it and buying it and selling it, that's what you have to stick to. My analysis and the way that I would say something isn't going to change how the stock will trade. It can give you insight on it, but the insight that I'm going to tell you would be you wouldn't like it. So for me, I would have I was going to, but I didn't. I would have bought ENPH on the gap fill. I even mentioned it for weeks. But as the gap fill was happening, there was a hit piece from Citron, and that's the reason I didn't take the trade. But even if I did, it still would have been a good trade. But I would have taken the trade at the gap fill around like 21 or whatever the price was, 22 or 23, or I don't even know what it is, honestly, off the top of my head. But I would have traded the gap fill, and then after you bounce over the course of the couple days, I would have sold 75% of the position, and then I would have just held the rest with a break-even stop or a little bit above a break-even stop. That way you can't go red on the trade, right? So again, most oftentimes I see people coming into the problem where they're timing entries wrong. They see a move, it starts to move, then they buy, and then there's not much move left, and then it moves up a little bit, they go green, and then they go red, and they go, oh shit, should I hold or what? Well, now you're into a new formation, which means your first initial buy point is completely different. So, with ENPH, it's really impossible to tell you. There's many that feel it's going to be a good company, while a couple feel it's not going to be a good company, as pretty much with anything. But let me show you. I guess I'll pull it up real quick. Yeah, this is what I would have done. I would have been buying here. Oop, that didn't work. Whoa, I didn't even know you could do that. Odd. Yeah, buying here in the gap fill and selling the move here. 75%, right? So if you found yourself buying up here, you're going to be red, right? So pretty much you, at this point, you just got to hold. I mean, you hold or you sell, you really do whatever you want. But again, that's the thing is I would not be taking a position here. So it's really hard for me to tell you what you should be doing because I wouldn't be doing that. So I don't know. I just wouldn't do that. That's just not something I do. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're in here and then it comes down, hold support, that's great. But just because it holds over the bounce level doesn't mean it's going above this high. At this point, you're going to probably be sitting in red to consolidation for arguably some time, right? I mean, you could see it like this until it changes. Look at the trend. That's the trend. That's your trend right now. Until share price breaks over the trend and goes on a push, or until share price breaks over trend, comes back down, retests trend line support, then goes on a move. You could be sitting in there for a month, 2 weeks. But if you bought the gap fill or the bottom, sold 75%, made your money, now you could just sit and hold, even if it comes all the way down. You could just sit throughout the whole time because you already made your money on the trade, and it's going to be hard for you to go red unless it really breaks that support. So if you had bought the gap fill, I would say just hold, right? You can hold for a little while. You don't have to be so hard pressed on it. Yeah, I'll take a look at Shop. You're not the only person to ask this morning. I just haven't gotten to it, so maybe it's a good candidate. So did it 312? Yeah, so I didn't trade it myself, but does anybody remember from the other day? I said if I were to be watching Shop, I'd be getting short below 312. So we dropped below 312, and we dropped, holy shit, whoa, really? Damn. From 312 to 286, that's 10, that's 22, that's 26 points. Holy shit. Good call. I wish I would have took that myself. But again, I'm an idiot. But anyways, yeah, I was saying short below 312, so you'd be right about there. Yeah, so that was a good move yesterday. I'd remain short bias on maybe. Let me double check. I'd still probably be like initially on the short side for the opening bell because Shopify is really not bouncing off support or anything like that. What did it get down to? It got to 286. Yeah, 280. I mean, arguably support's really at about like 284, 282s. So I'd say it's probably close to a little bit of like a short-term bounce. Maybe another red day, 2 red days, or just another down day closer to the support, and then I'd be on the buy side. Yeah, I would say remain short on this today, most likely. Alex, good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Or sister. Good to have you, brother or sister. I really don't know because Alex is a neutral name, so either way. All right. Someone said MYGN. Time is at 8:54. Said MYGN filling its gap. Okay, this already just feels like a biotech. Yeah, the likelihood you see that. Yeah, I'd say the likelihood you see this fill that gap. What's the likelihood? Let's see if it's ever filled gaps like this before. We can get a better idea. One here, comes back, fills gap. Yeah, I mean, it's starting to fill that gap. It's not bad, actually. It's up and over the 200 moving average. This could start trending nicely, but I wouldn't see this as just a stock that's going to go through a straight shot up to fill that gap up there at 44. If anything, you should probably, respect this gap down like this one here where it gapped down and it kind of like all the way back up. That's what I expect here. If anything to fill this gap, it's going to be like a slower grinder, not just like an instantaneous rip back up. But you also do have earnings. Wait. No? Yes? No? Earnings should be coming up, not soon, but it will be coming up. And next earnings report could be that key factor, catalyst to give it a nice upswing that could push it to fill this gap or come close to filling that gap. George, I mean, yeah, so a couple people do bull flags differently. It depends. So a lot of times what happens is, so sometimes, more often times than not, I'm always trading a 1 minute time frame chart, and every once in a while I'll come across like a bull flag, and I'll get in and it pops up and it comes down and I end up selling before it breaks down or get caught in the breakdown sell off. But yeah, anyways. So I trade them on 1 minute time frame, so I'm always trading the 1 minute. 5 minute bull flags for me, I don't ever really see them because I'm never trading a 5 minute chart. I'm usually always trading a 1 minute chart. But if you're going to have a 5 minute bull flag, your bull flag is going to be occurring over at minimum 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe even an hour, right? Because in order to see an accurate bull flag on a 5 minute chart, right, you need a lot of candles. Like 3 candles isn't going to do it. 3 candles isn't really can't really get a bull flag out of 3 candles. Like 4, 5, 6 candles, you can start seeing a bull flag on a 5 minute chart, really. But anyways, I normally trade them on the 1 minute. More oftentimes than not, when it comes to a bull flag, it comes down to, buying as whatever candle starts to successfully break over the downward trend with strength in the bull flag. Patrick, nope. SPY's not really trending down at the current moment in top. We've been topping out. We've been on an uptrend this whole time, right? But we are topping. We've been topping for years. We're just not really breaking down fully or trending down, right? So we've been top. So we're still making higher highs and higher lows, but the higher highs aren't really anything to get all proud about yet. They're nothing. They're so small and so insignificant at this point. It doesn't even matter, right? Oh yeah, and that you'll see right there. Boom. Look at that. That's actually not a good sign for this. Well, actually, it's been doing this for a while, I'm pretty sure, actually. Let's see. Yep, does it there. What about... There's probably one there, but I have to go back further. Oh, I can't. Yep. So you can see this. I mean, the SPY is respecting multiple trends perfectly, but yeah. Anyways, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll just have to wait until the end of the month to do this. There's just too much data to go over here right now. $8.59. Yeah. Someone said something about overstock. Thank you, Mr. Ken. I appreciate that. Whoa, I'm trying to read some comments here, but YouTube always loses the comments where they go. Let's see. Yeah, so Overstock did close. Yeah, Yep, you're correct. Jack Rizzi, Nike is on watch, but again, I'm not a big fan of trading Nike, so I'm just probably going to watch it today in case it does make a move I like. Where do you think MU is headed this week? Down. MU has a couple gap fills to the downside, so I would be watching MU. Excuse me. Yeah, so I would be watching MU to the downside currently because there's a couple gaps to fill. The downside has a little bit of a bearish divergence that did occur. So for right now, I'd be more of on the bearish side of MU. What do you think about MU's earnings coming around? I have no thoughts, no cares, or concerns about MU's earnings. I will just, because I'm not invested in MU, so I don't really care. I don't trade before earnings. That's not a good approach to the market, so I'll just wait until they report earnings, and then I'll see if I would like to trade the stock afterwards. Any thoughts on Dan Bilzerian's company? I have no idea what Dan Bilzerian's company is. The only thing that I do know of Dan Bilzerian is that he won a bunch of money in poker. He's like an Instagram famous person and hangs out with a lot of super hot women. So good for him. And he likes to shoot guns. That's all I really know. Roku, Mr. Anderson. Just made me think of the Matrix. Yes, we will be watching Roku and most likely trading it today. Daniel Christopher, no problem. Philip, sorry for smacking of the lips. Philip Morris and Marlboro, those are both up today. There's news about the banning of e-cigs or someone getting Juul. I haven't really been keeping up with it enough, but again, the whole banning of e-cigs is just a stupid movement. And I even said this today in our private chat. Pretty much any politician, anybody who is behind the passing of legislations for banning on e-cigarettes and vape juices really should be fired out of politics and just, I don't even know, just at least fired out of politics because their logical thinking, clearly they don't have any, and if anybody is going to be in that sort of position of power, you need at least some bit of logical thinking, and apparently they don't have any. But we all know it's not that they don't have logical thinking, it's just that we know that the system is corrupted, and that's why things work the way they do until one day, hopefully, Americans smarten up and try to really start making change in our own government. We're going to have a lot of problems. Thoughts on fake meat, BYND, price target of $100 for myself, or at least right now. Do you use closing prices or high and low wicks for gap ups, gap downs? Closing prices for gaps, not the wicks. No problem. Love all your videos. Good thing you so much for doing this. I remember when you were just starting the channel. You got a long way about it. Thanks, Bite the Bait. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been doing this a long time. Do CFDs have slippage? We can't even get that far right now. There's too much going on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 9:03. Got to get back to the private group, so I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. And if you would like, feel free to join into our services or any services for that matter. Again, no pressure, but if you want to, believe it's going to be the first link in the description of the video. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. And everybody, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for another stream.